Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here. Thank you to Product School for inviting me today. My name is Dana Gann, and I'm a senior product manager at PayPal, working on the consumer home screen for app and web. Today, we're going to talk about how to win over your users with a great homepage that will make a lasting first impression. So, this is me about 2 years ago when I just moved to the US. First time shopping here, I was just looking for milk. How simple. Well, little did I know that this is what I'm going to see. I was overwhelmed, as you can imagine, and this is after I cropped most of the image out. I was trying to locate the regular milk just to make coffee. I knew what I needed, but now I was struggling to understand what each product was and which one fits my needs. What's the difference between each company? And of course, which one do I trust that'll be best for me and my family? At the end, I chose the one that made the best impression on me. So, how to make a good first impression with your product? How to tell that story to users so they can decide if they want your product. Through my career, this has been a topic I've been studying and developing in almost every company I worked at. A little bit about me and how this all ties into storytelling. So, I studied industrial design and started off my career as a designer bringing 3D products to life. You know, the real kind of products you hold in your hand before product design became associated with the digital world. So, products I designed are being sold in stores like this baby bottle, for example, where the attention is very limited, the competition is very high, and your product is literally sitting next to his competitor. I had to think about the color, the size, the packaging that'll make it trustworthy but unique. And some products I designed were sold online, where users need to quickly imagine what is this product, if it fits their needs, like the stove I designed for a high tech company, where it needs to look new and techy, but not overwhelming, so users will still understand what that is and can imagine it living in their house. So these products all need to quickly convey a clear story about what they do and why you should buy them. Later on, I moved to the digital world where I was a product manager at Fiverr. So, Fiverr is a marketplace for freelancers around the world that IPO'd about a year ago. There, I was in charge of the top of funnel experience for buyers, onboarding new buyers, guest homepage, logged in homepage, and product pages. Today, I'm a product manager of the consumer home screen at PayPal, where I'm addressing the logged in experience for new and returning users. So, as you can see through my career, one of the main topics I've been learning and developing is how to make a great first impression on your users in a short amount of time. Let's start off with establishing what a short amount of time is. 10 to 20 seconds. So, according to the Nelson Research Group, users will spend about 10 to 20 seconds on your homepage before they decide if they want to stay or leave. Side note, if you don't know the Nelson Research Group, I highly recommend exploring their site. They provide user experience research and have a lot of great content. So, back to those precious seconds. 10 seconds is what your user might spend on your page, but as we can all imagine, the first impression will happen with even less than 10 seconds. Those few seconds on the page are critical for users to decide if they want to stay or leave. Today, we'll deep dive into the page most of your users will spend those valuable seconds on. We'll talk about key elements and how to learn what your users need. So let's align. What is a homepage? It's the first page your users will see on your site. This is the beginning of the journey, after which the user will decide if and how they want to interact with your product. And why is this important? So, first of all, you never have a second chance to make a first impression. This is the most prominent place you have to explain your product to all the users the marketing team worked so hard to bring into the site, and to help users decide if they want to continue interacting with your product. Second, and this is something that I just can't emphasize enough, this is the start of a relationship between the user and the company, and this is a relationship. It's about connecting with a person. They're not metrics. Conversion, bounce rate, CTR, funnels, these are all words that sometimes make us forget we have a person in front of us with needs and fears, and they came to our site because they need something. We have the responsibility to make them feel welcome and reassure them that this is the place for them. You want to make them feel great because later on, this will affect the way that they feel about your product. So let's dive into what your users need on this page. First of all, they need to understand the product. Does this product answer my need? It's pretty simple and straightforward. Second thing they need is to trust the site in order to decide if they want to continue exploring it. And after they know that this is the place for them, the last question they'll probably have is, okay, so what's the next step? How do I start interacting with this product? Now let's zoom into each stage a little further. First off, understanding the product. Make the site's purpose very clear. Explain who you are and what you do. And it's not only talking about the product, but also talking about the company sometimes makes or breaks the story. So Simon Sinek said, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And some companies, like Apple, for example, are about more than the product. It's about who they are and what they represent, and that's a very big part of the product. Second, you need to explain your advantage. So emphasize what your site offers and how your service is different from those key competitors. Some of your users will do their market research and compare you to see if they need to work with you over someone else. So you should make this easy for them to understand. Here are 5 tips to communicate your product better. First off, people read headlines. Keep it short and to the point. Don't over-explain with fancy terms. Sometimes we kind of get lost with over-sophisticated words and acronyms that are very clear to us in the product world, but not for someone from outside. We might miss the opportunity to just simply explain the idea. So try to get feedback from people outside of your group as often as you can to make sure you don't make that mistake. 3, keep the most important content above the fold. Most of your users won't scroll down, so don't depend on that happening. You have more than just words to communicate your idea, so use all the tools you have wisely. You can use images, graphic, videos that can help explain your product or maybe set the stage for the feeling you want to convey to users. A call to action can help support the story you're trying to tell your users. For example, if a fashion site will offer a quick fashion quiz to help learn your taste, this can help understand how they operate, what makes them unique, or the options that they have. Navigation can help explain what your site has to offer as well. So according to eye tracking research, the majority of users will scan the navigation bar before they even read the header. So keep this in mind when you're planning the structure and naming of different areas on your site. Supporting content. So this would preferably be under the fold, like we said, and this can help users who are interested but still need a little bit more background before they fully commit to going forward with your product. This can be detailed content about your product, how it works, highlight of top features, stuff like that. Articles about your product, projects done by the company, the list can go on. And last, one size doesn't have to fit all. The majority of your users will come from the organic channel, meaning they wrote your name on Google and you don't know much about them. So your homepage needs to address a very large audience. But in some cases, users will come from targeted acquisition funnels like Google campaigns, Facebook ads, affiliate sites. So you might have a hint of what they're looking for, and you can tweak the content to fit their need and maximize the opportunity for conversion. For example, if I came into a site selling skincare products, but I was specifically looking for face cream, you should try and make small tweaks to the content or visual to make sure I understand that this site has face cream available, since that's what I was looking for. Second part is, how do we earn the user's trust? When it comes to dealing with a new company, most online users will visit a site with caution. This won't be the only deciding page to determine if they trust you and you want to sign up to your service, but this is the first place they'll start thinking about it. According to the Nelson Research Group, there are 5 levels of trust. The first one, could the site help me accomplish my goals? Is it credible and can I depend on the information? So we kind of touched upon this in the previous step. Second is, do I trust this site? Do I really think that they can live up to what they're saying that they're going to do? Third, do I trust this site with my personal information, like email, name? Fourth, do I trust this site with sensitive information, like credit card, street address? Is it worth the risk? And the fifth is the highest level of establishing an ongoing relationship. Am I comfortable enough to set recurring payments, linking with other accounts? So what we see a lot is that sites will jump to number 3 on the homepage, asking for personal information. But this might be a little premature in some cases. Like we said, it's a relationship. So you don't ask for someone's phone number after just a few seconds of getting to know them, right? You need to show users you're worthy of their trust. So in order to get there, I rounded up a few helpful tips to help you design for trust on your site. Following our last point, don't ask for too much too soon. If you can hold off with any sensitive information down the funnel, the more likely it won't block users from exploring your product. So the moment they stop and think, is it worth it? Do I really want to learn more about them that I'm willing to give my email? Is a moment where users will likely drop. If users see real value and are confident in your product, they'll be happy to give you their info later on. So not always is sign up today on the homepage the best option. Design quality. So you need to play the part. You wouldn't trust this guy to take you to Mars, would you? Probably not. You want to work with someone who looks like they can get the job done, and you respect them. Your users do as well. Your site needs to have the look and feel that fits your product, so users will feel comfortable that they can trust you. A finance site, e-commerce, they won't look the same because they have different products. So choose what's right for your product. In addition, and this goes without saying, but still, always remember, no blurry images, inconsistent design, and typos. Those are no-goes. Social proof can go a long way. So like in real life, if you get a personal recommendation from a friend about a product they love to use, you're more willing to try it out, right? So social proof is kind of the digital world's way of creating that similar feeling. You should highlight popular clients if you have them. You can earn trust from their good reputation. Success stories, showing that your product is real and delivers results to other people. Work examples, showing how confident you are at the end result. And news coverage. If someone I respected looked into this company, researched it, and decided to write about it, I can feel more confident that I'm in good hands. Cool. So, short recap, what did we establish so far? So we understand the product, and our users trust that they're in the right place and feel comfortable going forward. So what's next? What step is lying ahead? In order to tell your users what the next step is, you'll probably use one main call to action. In my opinion, this is the point where storytelling about your product and trust come together. It can help strengthen the purpose of your product and make users feel secure and relaxed going forward. Users that know what will happen next don't need to be alert because, as we said at the beginning, users will visit your site with caution, and they're always on the lookout to see what might make them decide not to work with you. So here are a few good examples. Airbnb search. It easily explains what the site does. Location, date, number of people. It makes me understand that this is not just a hotel for one night. And if I fill in the details and click the search, I can imagine I'll probably land on a listing page. So you don't see any issue with going forward with this because you trust them. Another example is the Fiverr search bar, which is a bit different. And this is one of the last projects I worked at when I was at Fiverr. So it shows you that you can interact with the search field with an example search and suggested searches underneath. This helps users learn the scope of what the site has to offer. And this is very important since this is one of the competitive advantages Fiverr has over other sites. And when I click the search CTA, I know that I'll probably land on a listing site. So like I said, it strengthens the story told about the product and doesn't make users question the next step. They feel they can trust the site, not to be misled in the journey. Netflix. We can see the site here is asking something different. They're asking for a sign up, but they explain why. They tell you why they need the information and that this is the start of the sign up flow. So you can assume you'll be asked for more details later on. But most importantly, that stood out to me is the fact that they reassure the users that they can cancel at any time. They're actively addressing that fear that they identified that might stop users from going forward. Then we have Tesla, which is a very different example of a different location for the CTA than the other examples we saw. Their product is the focus, and their CTAs clearly show that you will be going into a funnel of ordering a car, but the options here are a bit different. And they're addressing one of their advantages that they have this custom order and they make it more prominent. So if a user needs to stop and think if he feels comfortable doing something on your site, that might be a bad sign. And here are a few examples I made up. I'm sure you've seen similar experiences on different sites, and if not, you'll start seeing them now. Let's get started with the first example, which is get started. So this is a CTA I would personally try to avoid. Users might stop and think, what does this mean? What will be behind get started? Will they ask for my details? Do I need to pay now? Am I going to discover more about the product? There are too many questions and unclarity that might make them hesitant and drop off. On that note, there are CTAs we think we know what's going to happen, and the funnel turns out to be very different. So let's take the fashion website, for example. So as we can see here, the CTA says, take a fashion quiz. So you click on it, but imagine that right after you're prompted to sign up in order to continue that fashion quiz. So this might make users feel a little bit betrayed because this isn't what they thought is going to happen, and they might drop off. Another example we can see here is asking for a lot of information upfront in order to continue. After just one sentence, a big background image, I'm expected to give very personal details like address, email. So we talked earlier about this being a relationship. You don't ask for so much information after meeting someone for just a few seconds, right? Now, it's very important to note that each product has a different audience. Every call to action, design, and content that we spoke about is unique and needs to fit your product. Sign up now, like we saw in the last example, might work great for PayPal since it's a finance company. And as a user, I understand that I need to create an account to access information. But it might not work the same for a different product. So this brings me to my next subject. How do we learn who our users are in order to design the best experience for them? How do we collect the data for a great homepage? Now, this sounds like a silly question, right? Because you might be thinking, wow, there's so many users, it's the top of funnel, I can collect so much data. Well, you can, but not really, because the reality is you'll be assuming a lot more than you think. And why? It's just hard to know who's on the other side of the screen. We always aspire to be data-driven, but this isn't always the case with users who are not registered. They come back from different devices, different campaigns, and most of all, they just don't do much on your site. It's hard to track them because they don't leave much clues. They come in for a few seconds and leave. What does that mean? They don't click on anything. They scroll a little and then they leave. Okay, now what? What did we learn from this? We don't know who they are and how we can reach them. Now, you would say it would be great to ask for feedback, right? But how do you reach them without any contact information? And even if you do get to them, they won't remember. They've seen dozens of sites the other day for just a few seconds. And this is assuming you reach them the next day and not a month after. So getting real insights doesn't seem very likely. The last option is, okay, so let's recruit some users and test. But general user testing can't allocate genuine users who really want your product. There's so many nuances they need to pick up on the homepage. A real need to use your product, the background research a real users who was interested in would do. So you can't find that with a generic pool of people. They won't reflect a real user's mindset. They'll give you pointers that you can learn from, that's true. But things that are hard to explain, like trust and competitive advantage, when they don't know who the competitors are, might not give you the feedback that you want. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that we don't have things to learn from the data we collect. Success metrics like signups, conversion, time to purchase, bounce rate will help you determine that you're on the right path. Behavioral metrics like time on page, scrolling, page visits can help focus on different areas to optimize. And of course, you have A/B testing, which is great in order to test out your hypothesis. For example, when updating a site, it helps you discover which changes worked and which areas are just best left untouched. But in my opinion, the real deal is this. The first impression is about connection. So when you want to connect to your audience, qualitative data is the way to go. Talk to your users. Interview existing users. What they like, what they don't like, especially what they don't like. This will help eliminate barriers for new users if you know that this is an issue for people who do want to use your product. Heat maps, live tracking, you can see real user data on how they behave, where they go, what they look at. You'll start to see patterns forming. Screen recordings. Now, this is an amazing tool because people think with their mouse, and I've spent hours looking at recordings because this is the best option that you have to kind of peek over the shoulder of a real user interacting with your product. And again, there'll be a lot of assumptions, but you will start to see patterns that might help you. And last, user testing. Now, I know this is something that I just said that isn't the best, but it depends who you're recruiting for your test. This is the part where you need to get creative and tap into your target audience. And I'll give an example. So when I worked at Fiverr, we worked on a brand new guest homepage with a new, different approach than we had in the past. It had a whole new layout, new branding message, and a new look and feel. We planned to go out with a bang, so no A/B testing. And we had to understand if we're in the right path. We thought a lot about how to test this out and decided that in order to get the feedback we wanted, we need to talk to users who really need a platform for digital freelancers, that they need a fast turnaround, and they have a relatively limited budget. So we went to the local WeWork, where our target audience works, small, medium businesses and entrepreneurs that can benefit from Fiverr's platform. We came armed with a stack of pizzas to draw people to us and conducted quick user testing on designs we had on the computer. We split them into two buckets: people who knew what Fiverr was and saw the new messaging, and we got their feedback, and users who didn't know what Fiverr was and got their feedback on how they understood the product operates. It was fun and exciting, but most of all, we came out with so much knowledge and a larger sample group than we could have ever coordinated in such a short amount of time. So following the pizza story, I'll summarize a few points we covered and leave you with some food for thought. To create a great homepage, you have to answer three key questions users have. Am I in the right place? Do I trust this site? And how do I start? The way to answer this may be very different for each product and audience, but they all must be answered. You're creating a relationship with users, and we spoke about it a few times. You need to meet your users, learn who they are. I know these aren't the best times to go out giving pizza slices to complete strangers, but try and be creative about how you connect to your target audience. Remember that you will be assuming a lot of things, but the more you talk to users, the clearer the patterns are. Try to think how this would play out in real life. Would you appreciate someone asking for personal information without explaining why? How would you feel if I promised something, but then I didn't hold up to my end of the deal? And imagine your product was a person. What kind of person would you like to work with? And last, it's about heart, not tricks. The more compassion and empathy you'll put into the products and parts that make up your page or any other page, you'll see users responding to it. Authenticity of a company, the way they care about consumers and really try to solve their problems is something that will show at the end of the day in numbers. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it and good luck nailing that first impression.